We are live. Hello and welcome back to another live stream. I am rocking here today with a good brother, AJ Yawn. AJ, welcome, man.
Thanks for having me, Stephen. It's always good to chat with you. It's always just like chatting with a friend. So I'm glad to be here talking and having an important conversation.
Absolutely. It's been a while since we've had a chance to chat a bit. Do me a favor. We are live on Sans' YouTube channel, and there are a good many people who don't know AJ on. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm AJ Yawn. I am the co-founder and CEO of ByteCheck, which is a cybersecurity SaaS company based out of Miami, Florida. We built a software solution to automate cybersecurity compliance assessments. I've been in the cybersecurity industry for a little over a decade at this point now. I started in the Army, did a few deployments. I got tired of sleeping outside, so I got out of the Army, went into cybersecurity compliance consulting, where I was traveling all around the globe doing cybersecurity compliance assessments. And I realized that the process was manual, it was boring, there was no technical kind of experience there, and I wanted to build a software solution to help it, which I set out to build ByteCheck. But more importantly, I set out to build ByteCheck to be an example, to be a representation to younger Black kids, so that they can see that, hey, this is another path to success. This is another way that you can make it in life. You don't have to necessarily be an athlete, which I was growing up, but and being that leader, leaving an impact is really why I decided to take a chance and launch a startup in the middle of a global pandemic. And I'm also, been accepted into the SANS family. I'm currently an associate instructor of SEC 557, which is a course on automating compliance in the cloud. So it's really awesome to be able to do that and be a part of the SANS network, which is it's crazy how amazing it is.
Absolutely. For those of you who are unfamiliar with me, my name is Stephen Hart. I am a curriculum marketing manager here at SANS. I've been with SANS for a couple years and had the pleasure of meeting AJ in maybe about, I don't even know if it's in the last year or so. Time has moved by so quickly. But the more I, had an opportunity to see kind of what you're doing, and it was actually when you got Top Voice, LinkedIn Top Voice, that I think I'd reached out to you and connected with you, and you've been so humble and inviting to chat with me, and I've just been so impressed watching your journey and learning so much more about you. And you so humbly said, a second ago that you played sports. You know, I, I hold it against you for being, a FSU guy because I'm a USF guy. We're both alum of Florida public schools. But tell us a little bit about, your sport life back at FSU.
Yeah, I mean, it's an important part of my journey, right? The reason I'm in cybersecurity is because of basketball. I grew up in California. I went to Florida State to play basketball, played for Coach Leonard Hamilton, one of the who I think is the best coach of the country, but other people may disagree. But when I got to Florida State, I broke both of my ankles, not at the same time, but I broke them, and I had to figure out a way to pay for school. I had to figure out how I was going to get through school and still accomplish this goal of being the first person in my family to graduate college. So I joined the military. My dad was a Marine, so I was like, hey, this is a way to do it, pay for school, which that led to me obviously getting into cybersecurity. But more importantly, while I was playing there, I met some of the greatest people I've ever met in my life. I have some lifelong friends. Actually, the angel investor in ByteCheck is one of my best friends, Chris Singleton, who I played with at Florida State, and he went to the NBA and did some great things. So those relationships that you build as a college athlete, the discipline that you learn, the consistency, being willing to put in work in the summer for March Madness a year later, are all things that I've been able to take with me through the rest of our time here. So it was a fun experience. I'll tell you that. Playing in the ACC, being in Florida at a big school, as you know, it's
Yeah,
fun, man. It's a good time.
that's awesome. And so you touched on you've been in cybersecurity for the past decade plus. Watching your journey with ByteCheck has been exhilarating from being a spectator on the outside, it's been amazing to kind of watch you and watch your growth and watch you market this platform and speak of, um, just the importance of of the platform and the solution you're providing. Um, what's been this, and we've talked about, you and I have had conversations before about starting up a business in cyber, but what's it been like being a black man in cybersecurity? Do you find that the the elements of imposter syndrome, being in rooms where we are often the only one, has that been a challenge for you?
It has. It definitely has, and I think it's an experience all of us feel in this industry. You just don't see anybody that looks like you, right? You don't see anyone around that that looks like you, has the same experience as you had. And in the Army, I felt that, right? The Army is not a minority-driven organization, but I just kind of chalked it up to the Army. We're in the Army, so this is what it is. And then I got into cybersecurity compliance consulting, and you go to conference room after conference room, city after city, whether overseas or here in the States, and you look around and it's like, man, where I can't be the only one, right? There got to be somebody else. You walk around the companies and you're just looking and you don't see anyone, and it makes you wonder, like, do you belong? Do you belong here in these rooms because you don't see anyone else that looks like you? And that imposter syndrome is real. Not just in cybersecurity, it's difficult because technology changes so fast. So you constantly feel like you're behind, but then you don't see anyone that looks like you. And I would say, even as a founder, when I got into the entrepreneurial space, it's even less folks that you see that look like you and are doing the things that you're doing, especially when you talk to VCs and you're raising money. And I remember going through our raise and I would meet a black VC and I just like immediately get happy. I'm like, oh, thank God. I get to talk to somebody that at least understands my path and my journey. So it's difficult, it's something that I want to
Pause you right
solve
there. What?
is, go
Pause
ahead.
you right there for a second. Was the black VC as excited you feel like to see a black founder?
He
Work.
was. Yeah, they usually are. One of the best parts, one of my best days at BiteCheck, we were getting a penetration test on our application, and my cloud security engineer, a guy by the name of Nick McLaren, was with us at the time, and then another guy on my team, a guy by the name of Malik Lawrence, all black. And we get on this call for this pen test company, and the guy that the CEO of the company, he's black as well. And I just started the call. I said, "Hey, man, like, I don't even know what your company is yet, but this is a historic moment. We are a bunch of black dudes talking about tech, and both of us have companies, and we're about to do business with each other. And it's been awesome. One of our customers, I won't say their name, the CISO reached out to me on LinkedIn. He said, "Hey, I'm reaching out to you because you're black and I'm black. And you have a company that I need some services for." And those moments are rare. They're so rare, but they feel so good. Because that's what you want to see. All of us have been to a family reunion. That feeling of being around your people is nothing. You can't replicate it. You can't beat it.
Absolutely. So what needs to happen, AJ? Where do you think? I can speak to SANS. In the last year, we in the heights of all these companies realizing that they weren't where they needed to be, and there's opportunity for growth. I, as an individual, felt that too. Right. I'm in a department that is one where I'm one, if not the only person of color. And I don't think that's that SANS as an organization doesn't want to hire a more diverse population, but we have work to do, right? We have a lot of area for opportunity to move the ball forward. But as we've stepped into that with that thought process in mind, like, we need to grow, right? Or focus has been on, okay, we need more people of color as instructors. We need more people, students of color, in order for us to train people to come into the industry. We need to really focus on the base, on the foundation, and be able to, train up professionals, and then also begin to be more intentional about the people we're hiring. But it's not going to happen overnight.
Right.
But what's the mindset that we need to have in all sides of the industry to be able to embrace that? Because people are going to say, well, I'm not racist, or I'm not I'm not trying to obstruct this, but the systems aren't set up necessarily in a way to embrace and foster us bringing in diverse populations.
Exactly. Yeah, I think the key point that you just hit on there, right there, is the system's not designed for us to be well represented, and that's what we have to understand initially. Everybody has to understand that the system, as it's currently made, and this is America. This isn't just cybersecurity. America, as it was founded, was not founded with Black people's best interest in mind. And some people hearing this may get upset about that, but that's just the way that it worked. History says that's what happened, right? So this industry is not built for us to break in. So I think there's really obviously there's three areas, right? You have the employers, you have the people that are trying to get into cybersecurity that look like you and I. And then you have the folks like you and I that are in cybersecurity that look like you and I. So I'll start with the employers. And I think for employers, the problem that we've seen, and I think last year we kept hearing it, right? Oh, we're going to diversify the pipeline. We're going to change where we're looking. But that doesn't work out, because all employers do when they need to hire someone, they go and they say, hey, who do you know? Well, if you go to Jimmy, who went to this predominantly white institution and is in this predominantly white fraternity, he's going to go to everybody that he knows, right? Yep. He's going to go over there and he's going to find the same people from his place and he's going to hire them because hiring costs money. And I run a business, so obviously I care about numbers. I know how much it costs me to do certain activities. And businesses do that. They know hiring someone costs a lot of money. So the easiest way to hire someone is a referral. It's just to go find somebody you know and pull them in. And we got to stop that. We have to stop that and say, I'm going to different places. I'm not looking in the same places anymore. I'm not going to just ask my people at my company, hey, I have this open requisition. Who do you know? No, we need to go to where these people are. Because chances are you don't know those people. Most of your company, if it's 90% white, they're not going to refer Black people, not because they're racist, just because it's their network, right? So I think that's where SANS, I know there's some really exciting stuff going on with SANS, like at Norfolk State, where we're kicking off a cyber range there, where there's going to be 20 kids that are going to get scholarships to go through SANS if they participate in this cyber range. So going to places like that, going to places like those HBCUs where the talent exists. I think the biggest myth that there is out there is that there's a pipeline problem. There's not. There are plenty of qualified Black people out there that are ready and willing to work, but the companies aren't going to places to find them. They're going to their same places, doing the same exact ways they've been hiring for years, and you're going to get the same results because you're not looking in different places. So the first thing that employers need to do, audit where you're hiring from. Go look at your last 20 hires. Where did they come from? How did they get into your pipeline? Because that's going to be the reason why your diversity numbers don't look the way that they do. It's because you're going to the same places. And most companies, if they do this, they'll look and say, dang, we really are hiring basically carbon copies of everybody that exists here. Because if you're a company out of Kansas, and 90% of your company's from Kansas, and Kansas may be, if anybody's from Kansas, I don't know, sorry to offend you, but if Kansas is 90% white, right? Guess what you're going to hire? You're going to hire 90% white people. So you need to leave that area and go out to these HBCUs, go out to these programs like Girls Who Code and other avenues to find different talent, not the same talent that you get. So that's my first point, is on employers. I don't know if you have anything to say there before I go to some of the other ones.
Yeah, I think representation is huge, and I definitely think it's a challenge across the board. For those of you who are tuning in, probably don't know me. I started a podcast 6 years ago called Trailblazers FM, and I have two young crumb snatchers who are growing up. And more often than not, I know AJ has young ones as well. We look at what the mainstream media puts out as representation of Black success.
Yep.
And oftentimes it's geared to athletics. It's geared to you being a musician. And I'm in the suburbs of Washington D.C. and I'm looking around me, AJ, and there is successful CEOs of companies. There are people at the top of their passion play in different industries, and I'm like, why aren't we telling these people's stories? Right? Why aren't we telling the stories of the AJ Yawns in cybersecurity? Right? And this is what my daughter affectionately calls my Hall of Fame. A podcast was Hall of Fame. I could go through and highlight, a couple of the people I've interviewed who have built mega successful businesses, and no one knows who they are. And that's a problem across the board, not just in cyber. But to your point, we have that problem, right? We stick to what we know, and that's a problem. We have to change that tune. We have to change that channel, and we have to begin building platforms that allow for. I love what Camille Stewart is doing with share the mic in cyber and platforms like that, where you're beginning to highlight more Black professionals, right? Stop with there's not enough people out there and the pipeline, garbage, right? There are a
Yep.
lot of successful Black people in cyber in every industry.
Right.
But we have to do a better job of being able to connect those dots, right, and bridge that gap. I see some comments here about, where is Stephen from? I am from Jamaica. Um, Bobby's saying the pipeline has oversaturation of these great pretenders with great white male frauds. No offense, not saying all, but good majority. Um, Listen, I'm not,
Yeah.
At the end of the day, man, it's about finding that diverse, working towards a more diverse representation for me. But figuring out a way to make sure that there is equity, right?
Right.
In that setup as well.
And I think that's where the second piece comes in, right? Like your wall of fame, or your podcast wall of fame back there, and you and I, we got to be better. The
Mhm.
people that have got into cybersecurity, that are minorities, that are Black people, that are women, we need to go back and lift up the next generation. I think all of us have a responsibility to get at least 10 people into the field that look like you, and do it unapologetically. Go out, find people, and bring them in, because that's the way that we change this. Is oftentimes, like I was talking about, these companies are going out, they're hiring people that are either in their fraternities, or where they went to school, or brothers, sisters, cousins. But for some reason, our people aren't doing that. We are not participating in this nepotism thing, and hiring our people. And I think we need to stop that. Like, the responsibility is on our shoulders to change the face of this, so that as we walk into these rooms, we see more people that look like us. So the first is the employers got to get better at where they're looking, but the people that are at these employers,
Mm.
even if you're in engineering, you can go talk to HR and say, hey, like, the last 5 engineers that we hired were white. I would like to see some more representation here. And I know someone that I can refer right now that's trying to get into this field, that needs an opportunity. And we have a perfect opportunity to do this. Everyone that's in tech knows that the finances in tech can change the lives of people. It can change the trajectory of your family because of the money that you can make here in this field. So we need to see that and say, okay, like, in order to solve some of the problems that we have, in order to change the scope of things, we can't play by the same rules. We can't tell people that are trying to break in, oh, just go apply here, I'll send you the link. No, carry them through. Carry their resume right to the hiring manager and tell them about it, and say, I want this person hired, because guess what? That's what's happening on the other side. And we have to be unapologetic about it. And I think that's the next step, right? Is we have to decide, I'm going to bring my people in. I'm going to not only get in, but I'm bringing the ladder down. I'm opening the back door. I'm letting everybody I know into this field because we see the opportunity.
And the point I want to touch on with that too, AJ, is that it's not just people with a technical background. I'm not a cybersecurity professional. I am black in tech. I'm a
Right.
marketing, I'm a marketer. And so, I manage, I have the pleasure every day of coming into SANS and working with, amazing instructors and people on the back end inside of SANS. But I'm in the marketing world, but I'm taking part in this field that affords you great opportunities. It's growing leaps and bounds. So while there is definitely area for growth and opportunity as a cybersecurity professional, there's a lot of opportunity, even if not, right?
Right.
And I think we need to do a better job of continuing to do what you said and being intentional and
Yep.
unapologetic about getting more people in the door.
That's such a good point. I think oftentimes when people are like, oh, AJ's talking about getting me into tech, I don't like tech. I don't want to code. I don't want to do all this. You don't have to. There's sales, there's marketing, there's all these other avenues. All we're saying is come over here.
Yeah,
We found something. It's good. It's good for our people. We're here and we're trying to get more of you in here. And it doesn't matter if you're thinking about being in cybersecurity or being an engineer or you want to, if you like to sell, if you like to hustle, come do tech sales. There's a way that you can do this. If you like to boost people up and you like to go ahead and demonstrate that whatever it is that you're involved with is great, and when you want to market it, you can do what you're doing, right? There's so many avenues. I think that's I'm glad you brought that up, Stephen, because I've been trying to get my friends and family into tech for so long, and all I constantly hear is, it's a foreign language to me. It's too hard. And well, you don't have to do that part. All I'm saying is come over here. There's some good stuff over here. And then the last thing, yes, we have to fix, right? Employers, the Black people that are in this field have to fix it. But if you're trying to break in this field, going back to our original point, the system wasn't designed for you to get in. So stop playing by the system rules. Stop blind applying for jobs. Stop doing all the things that are going to allow the system to get you out of there and not let you break in. So that means something that you talk about often, Stephen, personal branding. That means you have to build your personal brand. You have to figure out a way that I can demonstrate knowledge to people that are in this industry without having that experience, without having that opportunity, without having some of the things that get laid out for us. So that's why, the title of this is How to Be a Destructive Architect, right? Don't apply for jobs blindly. That to me is silly. You're going to go into a pile with 100 other people. And the way that I know that people get hired in tech is through referrals. The way that you get referrals is by building a network. The way that you build a strong network is by building a brand and showing people what you know. We often hear in the networking kind of space, it's all about who you know. I 100% disagree. It's not about who you know. It's about who you know. It's about who knows you and what do they know that you know. If I know you, Stephen, and I just know you, I don't know anything about you, and someone says, hey, I have this opportunity for a cybersecurity marketing, I need somebody with some experience that knows these things. I would appreciate it if they have like a Caribbean background too, because we're based out of here. But I don't know anything about you. I'm not going to recommend you for that job, but hey, we know each other, right? We're LinkedIn connections. But when I hear that and they say all those things, I'm like, I know just the guy. I know exactly who is here that I can hire because I've seen your work. I know what you do. You're public about it. You're sharing it. So if you want to break into tech as a Black person, as a minority, don't do it the way that you see everybody else doing it. That's not going to work. You have to decide, I'm going to show people, I'm going to explain that not only do I want to do this, I'm passionate about it because I'm working on these things. I'm writing blogs, I'm doing labs, I'm attending conferences, whatever it is that you're doing, you have to go outside of the box and leverage a lot of the things that you talk about, Stephen, on your podcast and other areas about building personal brands, that if more of our people focus on them as a person, a lot of these problems go away. Your personal brand will withstand anything. It will withstand a company firing you. It will withstand a global pandemic. You will be able to control your own destiny because you are the asset. Not your certs, not your degree, not your experience. It's you that are the asset. And we have to decide to do that. We have to decide, I'm going to be the asset because I'm going to continually prove externally what I have going on. So that's where, we're talking about making the Black in tech industry, making Black people in tech be the norm. I think we have an opportunity, especially in cybersecurity, to make cybersecurity demographics look like the NBA. There is a shortage of jobs, of people to fill jobs. Why not fill them all with people that look like us? Why not make this field extremely Black? Where now we're not talking about Black in tech no more as a minority. We're talking about how cool it is to be Black in tech, because everywhere I go, I see someone. But it takes us thinking about things differently, especially as the individual breaking in.
Yeah.
You have to challenge the system. Stop applying blindly and build that brand. Take all those tips that you share, Stephen, and implement them ASAP, because that's the way that I've seen people being able to skip all of that gatekeeping. You go all around all the gatekeeping when you have that brand. You don't have a brand, you have to go through the fire.
Absolutely. As you're talking, I was thinking about this too. My first 3 years, I'm a lot older than I probably look, but back when I left college in 99, I went through a season, AJ, of 3 or 4 years where, man, I must have had like a dozen jobs. Couldn't find my footing. Couldn't get clear on what it was that I really wanted to do with my life. And the first 3 or 4 years was, a broke season of life financially, right? And lacking that clarity. But I locked in on kind of the direction I wanted to take and shifted gears. And the next 3 or 4 years, second 3 or 4 years of my working career, end up doing financially, it was great, right? I share that point to say this. What's happened over the last 3, 4, 5 years of your life does not dictate what can happen in the next 3 to 5 years of your life. You can begin to give, thought and be very intentional about what you want to do going forward, right? What you want the next 3, 5, 10 years to look like. And begin to give thought to, okay, you know what? I want to advance my career. I want to earn this amount of money. I want to pursue even the other things that gives your life meaning and purpose, right? And being very intentional to say, you know what? I'm going to figure out how to get into cyber. Yes, AJ, you're speaking to me. I need to shift gears. I need to start looking more closely at this. Be intentional. Be intentional and say, all right, what's the first step? What's the second step? What's the next step? What do I need to do today, tomorrow, and the next day in order to get my foot in the door? And listen, Twitter is a place where we're Black in tech. I mean, you could go look that hashtag up and begin to do what AJ was talking about, networking with other like-minded folks, and begin to turn that wheel, begin to take that first step, begin to build that personal brand, begin to get the education you need, get that cert, get your foot in a door, begin to network with somebody that can help you find the right first opportunity and the next opportunity.
Absolutely.
And then what AJ was talking about, he and I do it. We are constantly putting ourselves out there. I live stream 3 times a week. I'm taking a break this week, next week, to play caretaker and get my dad situated. But I am always out there. I'm always put myself out there. And AJ is doing the same. I see AJ every time I'm logging into some of these social platforms, and so I encourage you guys to do the same. That's my thing. My jam is all about personal branding and marketing. It's my passion play. It's what I love. It's what I know. And I love new media. I love live streams like we're on right now. I love podcasting. And that's what's oddly enough, I started this as a side hustle, as a nightly project with my podcast. It led to my having this opportunity at Sands and getting to do it full time for
Right.
earning a salary doing it. And so just start where you are. Start with what you got. You don't need anything. Yes, there are white folks out there that have the benefit of a pre-existing network that maybe you don't, but leverage what you do have and take it a step at a time, right? Don't make excuses, start executing and take the next best step.
Absolutely. I think what you said there that I think is a perfect thing for us to end on is where you're at right now. Stop looking at the last 3 to 5 years of where you'll be in 5 years. And that's what people often do is like, well, I've only been doing this. Cool. Well, now change. You can change. And I'll give an example. 3 years ago, around this time, maybe 3.5 years ago, I got my first ever AWS cert, AWS Cloud Practitioner. It was my first time ever getting a cloud cert, just 3 years ago. Now, if you go to some places, they'll say I'm an AWS expert. I don't believe that, but other people may say that. And that's 3 years. That's how fast things can change. I'm running a company. Our application is hosted on AWS that I built, and I just started that 3 years ago. Now, if you would have told me back in 2018 and 3 years prior, hey, this is what you're going to be doing, I would have said you're crazy. There's no way. I don't even know these words that you're talking about. I couldn't even spell AWS back then. So you have to understand that where you're at right now, especially when we're talking about getting into tech, is not where you're going to be in 3 years. I have seen people's lives change from this industry, which is why I'm so passionate about getting more of us in. And I think it's so important to be able to take those steps, right? Put yourself out there, take that risk to do it because it's worth it. That's the one thing that I'll say. The last thing I'll say is that when we're talking about networking, I remember 3 years ago too, I attended an event that's similar to an event tomorrow. There's a CIO talent forum that we'll share a link with in the comments. There's gonna be speakers from Girls Who Code, and it's all about encouraging more CIOs to get entry-level talent into the field. And when you attend events like that, you get to network with people that are trying to get you in the field. Those are the best opportunities to meet people because you're who they're talking to. So attend the conferences, do these things. And then also know there's people like myself, there's people like Steven that we want to see more of us here. We're tired of walking into these rooms and being the only one. So the one thing I've learned, especially on Twitter, on LinkedIn and elsewhere, Black people in tech want to help other Black people get into tech. And you just have to be willing to reach out, but also put the work in. We all know that it takes work. So we're not going to give a handout necessarily. We're going to say, this is what you should do. And you go and do that. We're going to take care of you. We're going to make sure you're good to go. So use us that are in here, because not only do we want to, most people that I've met want to help, but we have a responsibility. I challenge all my friends that are in tech. They're telling me, hey, I did this, I got promoted. Like, cool. So who are you mentoring right now? Who are you giving back to right now? Because you getting promoted, that's why I left my company to start my own company. Me making all that money I was making, buying all the shoes I was buying, traveling all the world, doing all these things, didn't impact no one's life. I wasn't in a position where I could bring people on and put people on and change people's lives the way I am now. And that was my motivation. So I want you to know, if you're trying to get in, if you're trying to be a part of Black in Tech, we're here for you. We want to help you get in, and we'll be here to get you in, but you have to be willing to go about it a different way. Put yourself out there and do the things that are going to help you stand out.
Yeah. I love that you just talked about the importance and the impact that you wanted to have. The impact. I can't stress enough, man. There are things that we do, right? I love to say your legacy is the seeds you plant in a garden you likely will never see, right? What seeds are you planting? Who are you helping on the come up to get to a place they'd never been? To share information, to be able to access those jobs, access those opportunities, access better education, to just move themselves forward. Can't stress that enough. I see Bobby Newport talked about consistency being key. I can't stress that home enough either. On the content side, consistency is what's gotten me, to where I'm at. Whether we're talking about the podcast, or live streaming, or just doing work that feels like you're not getting to where you need to be. right? But very quickly, you talked about doing an AWS cert 3 years ago and then just staying on the grind, right? I launched a podcast 5 years ago and stuck with it. And today it's the same kind of feeling, right? You ask the right kind of person, it's like you've been in podcasting forever. But there are many days you're not going to feel it. You're not going to be energized. You're going to feel like giving up. Don't quit, shift, keep pushing. AJ, I love that you talked about, the system not being set up for us, but, pushing back, right? And I think that's a lot of what we have to do day in and day out. I am getting a good bit of stuff here from Laura in the background, but we can wrap up here. I appreciate you taking the time, man, to jump on and share with the community. Where can we learn a bit more about you and continue this conversation with you? Where are you most active?
Yeah, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, getting more and more active on Twitter, and I like to be fairly reachable. It's becoming more and more difficult as things change in my personal life and grow. The brand, it's becoming harder for me to keep up with the messages. But reach out to me. I like to help. I still mentor pretty often, and you can see a lot of my thoughts because I shake the table a lot. I don't hide my emotions or my feelings about certain things, and I call out companies, people, etc. Not going to run from anything. So definitely appreciate the opportunity. Always love Sans giving me the opportunity, especially to talk about being Black in tech. Something that I'm passionate about is I want more people that look like me in this field. So I'm going to continue to push the envelope, continue to call companies and people out that are saying they're going to do stuff and not do it. And hopefully we can change the face of this. I want the cybersecurity industry to look a lot like the NBA. So we got work to do to get there, and I'm excited to lead the charge. So thanks again, Stephen. I appreciate it. Hope to see some of the folks that tuned in to see you on Twitter and LinkedIn.
Yeah, definitely connect with us over on social. We're both on Twitter as well as LinkedIn. Definitely connect and let's keep the conversation going. That said, man, appreciate you. Thank you so much. Y'all have a great day. Cheers.